What if the true cornerstone of a thriving, unbreakable bond isn't grand romantic gestures or perfect compatibility? What if it's something far more fundamental, often overlooked, and, well, utterly non-negotiable? We're talking about respect. Not the kind you show a figure of authority, but the profound kind that forms the very bedrock of who you are and how you connect.
Exactly. And today we're taking a deep dive into this multifaceted world of respect. We'll explore its crucial role across all our relationships, from intimate partnerships and family dynamics to our closest friendships, and even critically with ourselves. Our mission today really is to uncover what disrespect truly looks like, often in its most subtle forms. And most importantly, equip you with practical, research-backed strategies to cultivate, demonstrate, and maybe reestablish this essential element for healthier, happier bonds.
Okay, so respect. It's a word we use constantly, right?
Sure.
But what does it really mean in the context of our personal connections? Sometimes we think of respect as like admiration for someone inspiring, or maybe deference to a teacher or boss. How does that translate?
Yeah, that's a crucial distinction. In the realm of healthy relationships, whether they're romantic, familial, or platonic, mutual respect means a partnership of equals. It's not about one person holding authority over another, not at all. It means genuinely valuing each other for who you are, acknowledging your inherent worth, irrespective of your differences. It's about feeling the freedom to be yourself, to be seen and loved for precisely who you are. This includes genuinely considering your partner's opinions, their wishes, their values, seeing them as worthy of serious thought, even if you disagree. And look, it absolutely requires consistent effort. It doesn't just happen.
Right. It's easy to spot the obvious signs of disrespect, like, say, name-calling or really open criticism. But our sources reveal that disrespect can be far more subtle, yet just as corrosive, maybe even more so. What are some of those less obvious signs we might overlook?
That's a really important question, because the subtle forms are often the most insidious, I think. They chip away at the foundation of trust and intimacy almost without you noticing. Think about consistent ignoring or avoiding, or responding with indifference that sort of glazed over look when your partner's sharing something important. Or even talking sarcastically. It's easy to dismiss a sarcastic comment as just teasing, right? But those subtle digs can be far more corrosive than, say, an open argument because they make you feel unseen or unheard without a clear confrontation. Disrespect also surfaces when your needs and wishes are just dismissed or intentionally overlooked, or when you're treated as less important or less favorably, maybe because of your age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, cultural identity, religion, anything really. Crucially, mutual respect isn't just the absence of negative behavior. It's the active, conscious presence of positive ones.
That makes so much sense. It's like a slow leak, as you said, draining the relationship's foundation. So if respect is this critical, how do we actually go about building it and maintaining it? And it can feel a bit intangible sometimes, can it?
It absolutely can feel intangible. But thankfully, relationship researcher John Gottman actually found something he calls the magic ratio. It gives us a very tangible framework for truly stable and happy couples.
The magic ratio. Okay, that sounds intriguing. What exactly is it, and how does it translate into practical steps?
It's fascinating, really. Gottman's research shows that for every one negative feeling or interaction between partners, there must be 5 positive feelings or interactions to maintain a stable, happy relationship.
Oh, wow, 5.
5 to 1. Think about that. It's a high ratio. Yep. Unhappy couples tend to have way more negative feelings and actions. And when those negative interactions outweigh the positive, it becomes incredibly difficult to even recall your partner's good qualities. Relationships fall out of balance when partners frequently criticize each other, give constant negative feedback, aren't supportive, don't show affection or appreciation, or just seem, uninterested.
Okay, so it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff, but actively, piling on the good.
Right.
What does that actually look like day to day? How do we increase those positives and make sure we're hitting that magic ratio?
It really comes down to consistent, thoughtful actions. And these aren't usually grand gestures, they're daily habits. First, show genuine interest. Don't just nod absently while scrolling your phone.
Guilty sometimes.
We all are. But put it down, make eye contact, genuinely pay attention when your partner is speaking. It communicates they matter. What they say matters. Second, show affection. Simple gestures carry immense weight. Holding hands, sitting close watching TV, or just explicitly saying, "I love you." Even thoughtful things like helping with chores without being asked can be a powerful act of affection.
Okay.
Third, show care and concern. Maybe grab their favorite ice cream after a rough day, send a quick email or note during a busy workday. Or offer verbal reassurance like, wow, it sounds like you had a really rough day at work today. A hug can also convey deep concern, often more than words. It tells them you're there for them. Fourth, be appreciative. This one's big. It's easy to take each other for granted over time, right? So actively recall what you liked and appreciated when you first met. Thank your partner for what they do. Genuinely compliment them on something specific. Point out the positives, no matter how small. Fifth, listen to understand. This is a tough one sometimes. Don't just wait for your turn to talk or plan your response. Listen carefully, completely before giving advice. Show you understand their perspective. You can do that verbally, like reflecting back what you heard, or non-verbally, nodding, open body language. It builds huge trust.
Right, not just waiting to jump in.
Exactly. Sixth, be accepting. You don't have to agree with everything your partner says or does, of course not. But even when you disagree fundamentally, you can still show respect. Accept what they say, let them know their opinion matters to you, even if it's different from yours. It validates them. And finally, number 7, lighten things up. Relationships need joy. Be playful, joke around as long as it's not hostile or sarcastic, obviously. Enjoy each other's company. Regular date nights, sharing good memories, expressing joy. It keeps things light and fun, reminds you why you're together. Sometimes even a silly meme shared can do wonders.
Those all sound incredibly tangible.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how just, putting down the phone really says, you matter.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any of these, perhaps, that people often struggle with more than others, even though they sound straightforward?
That's a great observation. I think listening to understand is often harder than it sounds, especially when we're feeling emotional or we feel the need to fix things immediately.
Right.
And being appreciative can get tricky because over time we start to expect things from our partners instead of seeing them as, well, continued gifts or efforts. It takes real conscious effort to shift from expectation back to gratitude. And our sources even suggest a powerful way to track your progress and make these behaviors a habit.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah.
How can we make this stick?
Well, try keeping a journal for just 1 week. Seems simple, but it works. Daily, just list your interactions with your partner. Categorize them, positive or negative. At the end of a week, review the balance. Look at the ratio. It can be incredibly eye-opening just seeing the numbers.
I bet.
Then decide to intentionally implement at least 2 positive interactions or behaviors from that list regularly, especially maybe when you find yourself in a negative pattern. Journal again in a few weeks. See if you're closer to that magic ratio. It's a small commitment, but potentially huge returns.
That journal idea is brilliant.
Yeah.
I can imagine that week could be really eye-opening for many of us, realizing just how many small negatives might accumulate without us noticing. So, okay, we've talked about the day-to-day stuff, the ratio, but what about the foundational elements? Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Beyond those daily interactions, what are the absolute deal breakers, the things we just won't compromise on in any relationship? We're talking about your non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables, exactly. They're precisely that. Elements that are simply not open for debate or modification in your relationships, romantic, familial, whatever. They are absolutely crucial for protecting yourself, your identity, your happiness. Failing to identify them, well, it can leave you feeling lost, stagnant, depressed, anxious, or even tragically lead you into unhealthy or abusive situations. They are your personal red lines.
And while many non-negotiables are deeply personal, there seem to be some that are almost universally accepted as foundational for healthy connections, aren't there?
Right.
What are those common pillars?
Absolutely. Among the common, almost universal non-negotiables, first and foremost, mutual respect. We keep coming back to it because it's paramount. It's crucial not just for solving problems, but for the long-term health and happiness of the relationship itself. It includes accepting differences, not trying to change or control the other person. Without it, honestly, the relationship is built on sand. Then there's trust. Just fundamental. Trusting your partner has your best interests at heart, is loyal, will be there when you need them. Without trust, you're just going to have constant conflict, suspicion, instability. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Honest communication is another absolute must. The ability to openly and importantly safely express feelings, thoughts, desires, needs. This builds that trust, nurtures emotional intimacy, makes conflict resolution actually possible. Without it, resentment builds, problems fester under the surface. Yeah. Commitment. This means putting genuine, consistent effort into maintaining and nurturing the relationship, making future plans together, building a life as a team. It's about choosing the shared journey. And finally, aligned values and goals. Now, personal goals might differ, that's fine. But couples whose core values and life dreams align, they tend to last longer. For instance, if one partner definitely wants marriage and kids, and the other wants to, I don't know, travel indefinitely as a free spirit, that's a significant challenge, often insurmountable.
A big one.
Yeah. And even if values aren't totally aligned, respecting each other's core values is absolutely essential.
We've heard from leading relationship experts, psychologists on this. How do their insights tie into these non-negotiables? What do they emphasize?
Leading experts consistently echo these sentiments. They often put their own spin on the critical elements, but the core ideas are there. Dr. John Gottman, building on his magic ratio, he stresses open communication, paying attention, and crucially, responding to what he calls bids for love.
Bids for love.
Yeah, those small everyday attempts partners make to connect. Like a sigh after a long day or a casual comment about work. Responding positively to those is key. These are antidotes to relationship destroyers like criticism and stonewalling.
Which is?
Stonewalling is when a partner just shuts down, withdraws from interaction, refuses to engage. It's incredibly damaging. Then you have relationship coach Marisa Peer. She highlights the non-negotiable importance of maintaining individual identities, personal growth, independence within the relationship. You shouldn't lose yourself. Definitely. Esther Perel, known for her work on desire and infidelity, she emphasizes creating emotionally safe spaces, places where partners can express feelings and needs without fear of negative consequences or judgment. Dr. Sue Johnson, she's a pioneer in emotionally focused therapy. She states that love requires partners to be ARE, accessible, responsive, and engaged, especially when one partner is in pain or feeling vulnerable.
There.
Accessible, responsive, engaged. And Dr. Gary Chapman, author of The 5 Love Languages, he underlines the importance of understanding and respecting each partner's primary love language. It's about speaking a language of love that they actually understand and receive, not just the one you prefer to give.
So beyond these common truths, these expert insights, there are also those deeply personal non-negotiables that individuals hold. What are some examples of those? And how do we even begin to identify our own? Because they can be so unique, right?
You're right. They are incredibly unique. They often stem from our core values, our upbringing, and critically, our past experiences, often painful ones. Examples might include a firm stance against drug use or smoking, or a requirement for complete financial responsibility and transparency, maybe the non-negotiable desire for marriage in a family, or simply the absolute need for respectful communication, meaning absolutely no shouting, no raised voices ever. It can be as simple sometimes as needing to be able to be myself around that person, to be silly and say weird things without feeling judged.
Yeah, that feeling of safety.
Exactly. Or maybe a desire for acts of kindness and gratitude to be common currency in the relationship. To identify your own, you really need to ask yourself some honest questions like, what was consistently missing in previous relationships that you would now insist on? What makes you feel emotionally and physically safe and truly yourself? What elements, big or small, truly define a healthy relationship for you? Is it patience, teamwork, unwavering emotional support? And maybe the toughest question, what would genuinely make you leave a relationship no matter how much you love the person? Reflect on times you've maybe given up aspects of your identity, your passions, your future plans for someone else. The consequences of those sacrifices can really illuminate your true non-negotiables. And remember, these can evolve over time. So flexibility and continued self-reflection are key to honoring them.
We could talk all day about respecting others and what we need from them, but there's one person we often forget to include in this whole equation: ourselves. And actually, our deep dive reveals that self-respect is a true non-negotiable for any bond to thrive. Seems foundational.
Absolutely. It's not just a nice to have, it's fundamental. Self-respect is a core form of self-regard and acceptance of yourself as a whole person. It's recognizing your inherent worth and value just because you're due, Regardless of whether you think you're perfect or flawed, we all are both. It means holding yourself to your own standards, not worrying constantly about what other people think. And it translates into tangible actions like caring for your body and mind through healthy habits, continuous learning, seeking therapy when needed, practicing your faith, whatever nourishes you. It's about honoring your own existence.
Okay, but many people use self-respect and self-esteem almost interchangeably. Are they actually the same thing, or is there a difference we should understand?
Not quite the same, though they're related. While both involve positive self-regard, self-respect is often seen more as a normative stance. It's almost like a moral duty tied to your dignity and your agency as a person. It's about feeling justified in who you are, being able to hold your head up. It's a motivation for morally appropriate living, for acting in line with your values. Self-esteem, on the other hand, is often more about feeling good about yourself, which is great, but it can sometimes be based on more superficial qualities or external validation like achievements or appearance or what others say.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily concern moral worth or intrinsic value in the same deep way. True self-respect grounds you, protects you from external pressures in a way that fluctuating self-esteem alone sometimes can't.
That distinction makes sense, and it leads directly to a crucial point about healthy relationships, setting boundaries. It seems like self-respect is absolutely key to being able to do that effectively.
Precisely. Establishing and upholding boundaries is vital. Vital for your emotional well-being and also for demonstrating mutual respect to others. It shows them how you expect to be treated. This includes things like avoiding behaviors typical of romantic relationships and purely platonic ones, being mindful of what shared photos you're comfortable with online, respecting personal space and privacy, and clearly communicating your expectations for how you want to be treated, how you deserve to be treated. Enforcing these boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable or causes friction, is a direct manifestation of self-respect. As our sources note, if you give up too much of yourself, your time, your energy, your personal space, your values, you'll likely end up feeling resentful, angry, and lost. And this also applies to what we accept from others. Self-respect helps us distinguish between healthy non-negotiables, like honesty, and unhealthy demands that are actually control tactics. Things like someone demanding access to your personal accounts, or trying to control your finances or friendships. Self-respect allows you to see the difference and, importantly, act on it.
So bringing all these insights together, what's the larger impact? Why does cultivating this profound sense of respect for ourselves and others matter so much?
Well, the pursuit of authentic respect, it's fundamental. It's fundamental to our individual health and well-being, absolutely. But it also ripples outward. It strengthens our communities. It provides a blueprint, really, for resolving conflict fairly, for accepting differences, for building connections where everyone feels safe, seen, and truly valued. It's how we foster stronger, more empathetic relationships and, by extension, maybe a more harmonious society overall.
Wow. What a deep dive today. We've really seen that respect, in its truest form, mutual, self-driven, really is the unwavering foundation for every meaningful relationship in your life. And it's not about achieving perfection, is it? It's about consistent, intentional action, honest communication, and that unwavering self-awareness.
Exactly. So maybe consider this as we wrap up. How often do we unconsciously accept a subtle lack of respect, either towards ourselves or from others? Maybe in the name of comfort or convenience or just avoiding conflict. What might truly transform in your life and in your relationships if you committed, really committed, to making authentic respect an absolute non-negotiable starting today?
Something to definitely think about. That's all for this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration. We encourage you to reflect on these insights and maybe try out some of the practical steps we discussed, like that journal idea. Join us next time as we continue to unpack complex ideas, one fascinating source at a time.